Hi, my name is Alex Krupkin, and this is Art for Now, a new show on CCAT TV here in Corvallis. I'm going to start out talking about a collaboration piece that I recently made with a friend of mine down in Alameda, California. It's a little bit of a fun story. He was walking down the street and there were a pile of comic books sitting there. And he advertised on Facebook if anybody wanted some, and I said yes, of course, and he sent me a bunch. And one of them was one called The Warlock. And so, I looked through it, and it was an okay magazine. It's a fine Marvel comic. And I decided to make a mixed media piece out of it. Michael J. Marks is a PMC or precious metal clay sculptor, and so this piece here in the middle is one of his pieces, and I am a glass artist and a mixed media guy, and so I just kind of took the concept of the Warlock from the comic book that he found on the street and then expanded on it, and I made a little Warlock wand and then cut up the comic and created a kind of a comic style painting and put them all together, and here it is for everybody to enjoy. Oop. There we go. There you go. So I am also joined by my guest, Joanna Rosinska, who is a graphic artist from Corvallis, Oregon. And we're going to touch on a number of subjects today, a little bit about art and business, and then also a little bit about art and politics. Here is Joanna Rosinska.
Witam w Corvallis.
She's originally from Poland, and I promise she'll be speaking English today. I've known you for a number of years. We both worked at the university as scientists for a while, before all of the budget sequestration happened. You're originally from Poland, from Warsaw, Poland. And you were an artist when you were living there for a little while, right? You were
I was a different kind of artist. I was a musician at that time, and apparently it didn't stick. I was also an engineer and freelance journalist. When I came here, I changed my careers. I became agronomist. Well, that didn't stick. So I finally ended up studying graphic arts, and here I am.
Where was it that you studied graphic arts?
Lynn Benton Community College. It's a really very good school for that.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about it. What was it that made you want to get into graphic arts in particular?
It all started with poetry. I always wrote poetry, but I never published. Well, I published here and there one poem or two, but I really wanted to do a very complex book, multimedia publication to be exact. So besides the poetry that I wrote, and poetry was very tongue-in-cheek about obsessions, I decided to illustrate it. I decided to attach photographs and put it in an entirely different, weird, absurd format. I also was very lucky that I found somebody in OSU who took me into the studio, and we recorded the reading of my poems by various people who had substantial voices and could really deliver. And I had the privilege to play with a couple of musicians on that CD as a background music. So after the book was done, and I watched over the shoulder of a very good graphic designer how she laid it out according to my markup, but it turned out to be much more refined than I thought it would be. I decided that I could do that every day of my life. So I bought the software. I tried to learn. I was not going particularly well. I enrolled in a program, and it was a very intense program, but I don't think that I ever wanted to do anything else after that. So I found my calling.
What is it about the course that focused you? I mean, what was it that it challenged you to do?
I think I always liked to draw, but I never really got much of encouragement in my life. I was, in Poland we have an entirely different education system. So once you enter it, and you decide to focus on math and physics, then you don't take art classes. It's just not in your program. You don't take music classes. So the only drawing that I took was technical drawing, which wasn't really much of an art. But I always wanted to do that. So once I got a software that could do a lot of things for me, I really enjoyed it. I use Creative Suite, of course, Adobe Creative Suite for that, which is the industry standard. And I think I like utilitarian art. So art for art's sake is fantastic, but then when you are going to present it, you really need a graphic designer to put it in context, to put it in appreciable frame that the artist respected, and it speaks to the audience in, I think, in a way that it was meant to be addressing.
It was the idea that, you know, when you make a piece of art like this is very singular. You know, it has a very singular taste that that people would, you know, appreciate. There might be maybe 200 people in the world that really like this.
Right.
And so is the function of being a graphic artist kind of taking the concept of this and then bring it to a more consumable?
It could be. It could be, because graphic arts is also called industrial art. So it is, and mostly it's art for hire. So you don't create just because you feel like creating, but you create for a particular purpose. So oftentimes I would make posters based on somebody else's art, for example, or business cards using somebody else's logo. So there is art and there is information, and I'm combining the two.
Okay, well that makes good sense. And so, in your particular part of your particular passion with graphic, in addition, I should say, to your graphic arts, has been working with textiles or wearables, kind of as a mechanism for getting the message out.
Yes.
And so, in addition to you know, T-shirts, which we're going to show in a minute, you also do like doggy vests and belts and a bunch of other, you know, wearables, which are kind of prominent accessories.
Yes, yes. I believe that everybody
Let's take a quick look here of this one. And can you tell me a little bit about the design that you had for this one?
Yes, well, as you can tell, I'm Bernie Sanders supporter. And given that you and I both share chemistry background, I thought it would be pretty funny to implement the elements. Oh, and that, to put it in context, that's the back side.
But to use like just the periodic elements to, you know, we'll lift it up again.
To spell feel the burn. So it's an eel, fluor eel, the beryllium radon. So,
but
it's wacky.
It's you know, it's a nice design of the shirt, but it's you know, it speaks to a limited scientific audience.
Yes. Yeah. So this couldn't possibly be my only design.
Right. And so over here on the right, you have it's kind of a more whimsical design.
Yes. Seems to be one of the most popular T-shirts that I'm selling.
I think it's fun. I mean, that's the thing about that particular one, and this one. I think I'll put it up again here. You know, I think it helps to connect and to bring a certain energy to it.
Yes.
And you know, clearly with with this chemistry oriented, you know, it has a coolness to it, but a lot of people, you know, it's a little different. It has a different energy than most people want. And so when people want to wear a T-shirt, you know, true that oftentimes they want a message, but there has to be some kind of uplifting energy with it. And I think that's the thing about that the blue design, is that it's got the chalkboard effect on the number, and then it's just kind of, it's got a doodle, you know, has a doodly feel, like a little bit of a party. You know, a political party, as it were.
Right. That was the whole idea, that to have a bit of a movement with the swoosh, and to be more like a handmade. So that's the chalk and dry brush.
Right. It has, it's more
cozy, homey feeling.
Right. It's more personal.
Yes.
And so when you started making T-shirts in general, and the Bernie ones specifically, I mean, was your idea to create a number of different types in order for kind of the market to decide which works?
Yes, exactly. And totally, I created, I think, 7 designs. Some of them flopped. It's natural part, right? And I found 4 or 5 that were the most acclaimed, and seems like everybody can identify with a little different design because it speaks more to who they are or perhaps their personality. Well, needless to say, OSU crowd is very partial to this one.
Is there, how do you currently market?
Facebook.
Okay, it's all Facebook?
Facebook for now.
Do you use, do you pay for ads on Facebook, or how is it you kind of spread the word in order to get your product out there?
Spread the word for now, but I think I will eventually, shortly, pay for advertisement as well. We also have a website, and I think this is really a seasonal item. I have T-shirts that are more independent of times, and those would be probably mostly on our Facebook besides belts.
And so, yeah, these are items that, the relevance of them may only be for another month.
Who knows?
We
I
don't
hope
know.
not, but
Well, it might be. We don't. I guess
Don't
that's that transitions a little bit into the concept of art and politics.
Yes.
And you weren't there, but you were kind of part of the Eastern European bloc, and you left it in August of '88, and so you kind of had a feel for that political system, and and having come here. And then when you were, was it in Montana when the Berlin Wall finally came down?
Yes.
I mean, on one side it was concrete, and the other side it was concrete covered by graffiti.
Yes.
And so there was, there's a lot of messages on one side and few messages on the other side and a political bent. And so it's kind of like the public space in the modern times, kind of the Berlin Wall equivalent. In a way, about putting your message, getting your message out there.
Oh, absolutely, and I think that graffiti is art that it's been practiced for as long as we know humanity, right?
That's true, yeah.
In one way or another, and I think that's the perfect freedom of expression. Mm-hmm. Of course, there are people who are very much against graffiti because allegedly it destroys the walls, but.
Well, it might also be that you're on you own a factory that makes cakes, and then there's lots of nasty.
Chemicals.
The words or the images don't necessarily fit your business, and so you don't want.
Yes,
you don't
true.
want that to push your customers away.
Right, but there is no harm in soliciting graphic artists who would make appropriate art.
Did you choose to do the Bernie line based primarily on passion, or was it more of a market calculation?
Passion entirely.
Oh, okay.
In Poland, I never was politically involved because it truly did not matter.
Okay.
And here I believe that maybe it mattered some. Well, at this particular time, I think it really matters. So it inspired me. So I guess the whole idea is that we artists, and I mean very generally, any kind of person with artistic soul, we need to be inspired.
Right.
We have constant craving for inspiration to give and to take. Mm-hmm. And I connected with Bernie because to me he's very inspiring, and that's good enough.
Do you think a Bernie, this is theoretical, but do you think a Bernie White House would translate into a burgeoning of artistry being a more relevant subject in America?
I really hope so, because it is a very egalitarian message. Mm-hmm. It's a message where everybody can chip in and contribute something, or at least it appears so right now. Mm-hmm. So I think inviting art community to participate more, it would be very reasonable. There are actually hip-hop artists that are creating flash mobs for Bernie, and I have seen a few of them on YouTube. So inspires.
Yeah, is it that kind of the movement for Bernie? I'm sticking on this subject because it's just where I'm going. Is the movement for Bernie? It's very grassroots, and yes. A lot of the energy often comes kind of in an artistic bent. And is it because a lot of the Bernie supporters are kind of have that energy that they're kind of artists in their own way, that everybody's kind of an artist in their own way, that he gets more press for it, or do you think that he inspires everybody to be more energetic?
I think we have that sleeping energy inside of us.
Right.
And as we are very young, we are very exuberant, and we are trying to revolutionize the world. As we get few kicks from the reality, we acquiesce. And by the time we're in our 50s, we don't care, and sometimes we don't even vote. So Bernie is well known for speaking to the younger generation, and this is precisely why, because he has the zest, he has the innocence, and he has the idealistic point of view. And you may argue until you're blue in the face that the Rome wasn't built on idealistic theories, right? The White House wasn't either.
Right.
But without that, without certain idealism and without certain desire to innovate, which is very common among young people, or should be common among young people,
Right.
We have no prayer to change anything.
That's true. Yeah, I guess that concept of innovation, or the energy of innovation, is hip. It's kind of it's a constant these days when people are talking about creating new businesses or
Yes.
creating new technological ideas and
Yes.
innovations or patents. Basically, we've been talking about that for kind of 20 years, about how the youth was going to come in and start all these innovations and kind of carry America into the next century, although now it's this century.
Right.
And I've been around for it, and you've been around for it, and it seems like something got stuck. Like somehow
Yes.
the innovations existed, or the energy existed, but it got stuck in government process.
I think the opportunities were not there.
Oh, okay. Basically the energy was there, but there wasn't really an outlet which benefited the community and the country
Yes.
as a whole.
That's what I think.
Okay. It was just that kind of, it just gets
Stasis.
stopped at some point. It hits the ceiling, it bounces, and once it becomes discouraged, then it peters out.
Right,
Okay.
but I think that the movement, generally movement, social movement, political movement, philosophical movement, doesn't really die. I think it bounces back with more fierceful animation, for lack of a better word. And it's a matter of time at which point there is enough energy, there is enough collective awareness that it takes off. Well, we had the 60s, right? The outrageous 60s, and it's changed the world.
Right, it did, and the hope is that kind of artistic liberating energy,
Yes.
and it has continued, at least in our country, or at least it still existed, and then it came about for a while when Bill Clinton was
Yes.
president for 8 years, and then it just kind of seemed to meander for a little while, and maybe now it's the time for the next generation of artists and innovators to come forward.
I hope so, and I like to see young people who are not subscribing to old principles. I think that they need to make new marks.
Yeah, I go with that. I think we're talking a little bit too much about politics, and we're going to try to get back to art a little bit. As far as, I'll transition back, I know that you have a line of handmade clothes that you're interested in making, right?
Yes.
I guess,
yes, mostly dog clothes.
Okay. Well, that's a good question. So, from a strategy standpoint, as a graphic artist, you're trying to create a business that supports you, right?
Yes.
And so you need to find trends or ideas that you get ahead of before anybody else, or at least you create a unique product.
Right.
And so the idea are you kind of going to be concentrating or switching to either the belts or the purely handmade, or maybe the dog coats? I mean, what is it that you see being a good business model idea?
I think that I have not enough experience in business, and therefore I'm going to try everything for a while and find out which one takes off.
Are you going to be taking courses again at LBCC to try to help that, or are you going to do kind of more trial and error?
Trial and error. I have taken a small business course, and it was very helpful. But if you don't have a good idea, the business doesn't take off no matter what.
Right.
So it's a question of finding the idea.
And so turning art from passion to business, where do you find the greatest challenges? Yeah.
Profitability and advertisement. And I'm not the only one. There's two of us, my partner, Kimberly Kelly, who is the other chick. We are two chicks conspiracy. and she's the chick that deals with production organization, marketing, supplies. She has been a businesswoman for a few decades, and she's very savvy, something I don't have, so we complement each other in that way.
Okay. Do you work together, or you kind of work together separately?
Separately.
Okay, so she's kind of more the business side of it.
Yes, yes, very definitely. Of course, I bounce off ideas because she has artistic side. So if I come with a concept, I run it by her, and she has a say in that. And later on, we have a business meeting, for lack of a better word, the two of us, and bounce some ideas. How to market and what would be the audience, and then she takes off with production, and
it goes from there.
Yes, and it goes from there.
If you could make, you know, I know that reality is reality, but if you could make anything you wanted, you know, just regardless of whether it's sold or not, what would you be making?
I think animal products.
Okay.
I am very passionate about my pets. I have a few of them, and I have not found suitable products, certain products, apparel. I haven't found suitable for my dogs. They are built, I guess, oddly, and therefore nothing really fits. And I think I would like to make custom clothing for dogs.
Okay, I mean, I think that's not a bad idea. There's a big market now, and you see, it's not that there's a lack of dog or cat or rabbit or animal clothing out there, but they're all, you know, it's like off the rack stuff, and much more differently than humans. Humans, you know, kind of have reasonable sizes that are similar to each other.
Yes.
And you know, I might wear a large in one brand and an extra large in another, but a chihuahua versus a greyhound, you know, that's tough.
Plus, they are built differently.
Yes, so true. Each is a little
the
built a little
pattern is entirely different. I have pit bulls, so they, again, nothing really fits them well.
They're too forward.
Yes, too barrel chested.
So I'm sure there are other people doing that, and so, you know, again, it's, you know, a little bit of a marketing question. You know, do you just start producing in a large quantity and then hope that the quality of your work kind of begins, or do you start, you know, more on the figuring out what it is you should make?
I think that I make few prototypes for things that are less common, because the very common, there is no need to produce more of those. And I ask dogs to advertise them for me. So the dogs will get the presents, and they will wear them, and I think their doggy parents will tell me if it's functional, if it does what it needs to do, and if not, that's back to the drawing board.
Is the kind of the utilitarian aspect of your work, I mean, it's an easy question for me to ask, but does it come from, you know, your background in Poland? I mean, because, and you have, you know, kind of the polytechnic educational system where you know, you make things that function. Have purpose. Purpose. You know, don't make frilly. I mean, this is great, but it doesn't really do.
No, this is for pure enjoyment.
Yeah, you just look at it and it's funny, but you know, is that kind of where it came from, or is that just part of your personality?
I think I am very practical, and I like to see beautiful applications into practice. If you put a beautiful picture on the wall, well, how many people are going to see it? Not many. You have to invite them all to your house, right? But if you have an amazing drawing or amazing image on the back of your jacket, then you're uplifting people on the street.
That's true. Yeah, you're giving the opportunity for that art to reach more people.
Exactly. Plus, I like addressing the public. So one of my hobbies is to have a message that would walk around.
And so, hence all the political things.
Yes, for example.
Now,
but that's not just political. My shirts are other.
If the other Democratic candidate, is at least running.
Yes.
Will you be making, you know, Hillary versions just to sell?
Probably not.
No, okay, so this is
probably not.
This is more passion than, and as far as future designs, you're just going to kind of do what you want more than try to follow the market.
Right. Well, when it comes to politics, yes, definitely. However, when it comes to other types of art, well, if the, oh, I don't know, if the honeycomb or graffiti are what is hip, I'm totally not opposed in creating
Right.
art in that genre.
Right, you can't live too terribly isolated.
Right, right. No, no, no. I think you need to be integrated, and I think it's very good to go as frequently as we can to exhibits, look at other people's work.
Do you have any, do you have any final thoughts or ideas or anything you wanted to communicate at the end here as we're wrapping up?
Well, I think maybe it is about the message that...
that art is about.
Yes,
message.
Art is about the message, yes.
Okay.
And whoever identifies with it will befriend it, whether wear it or buy it to put on the wall. So it's never for everybody. You're always creating for a particular segment, and hopefully the segment will be large enough to support your lifestyle.
That's an excellent way to wrap it up. My thanks to my guest, Joanna Rosinska, graphic artist, and I am bidding adieu to everybody. This has been Art for Now with your host, Alex Krupkin. Goodbye, everybody.